Alright, so this is Andrew Rogers here with a reboot yet again of the playtest of the Greatest Lineage. This is a game that, unless y'all deem it so, will be just for my enjoyment and the enjoyment of a few of my close friends who enjoy weird games like this. The reason for that being that even though this is technically a board game and not a role-playing game or anything like that, I would equate it to more of a campaign type thing, because it takes so much time. You're never going to finish it all in one day unless you cut the amount of turns and ages drastically. So basically, how you play this game, well, actually, I'll start with, here's what I'll do. I got the rules right here in a hard copy. I'm going to do the lazy thing, and I'll start by reading from the rules, the intro. This is a highly strategic board game where 2 to 4 players vie for control of the world of Gallipay. It takes place over the entire course of the era known as the First World, although this map is from a much later era. The first 3 players are humanoid races, 1 elven, 1 human, and 1 dwarven, and the 4th player represents the monster races. There are rules for wars, treaties, alliances, and of course assassination/espionage attempts. That is going to be very important in this playtest, the espionage, because once a player surpasses another player in points, it's very difficult to win back over the larger amount of points. Market fluctuation, which I will talk about later, can do that for you, but only if you get really lucky and the other person gets really unlucky. But I'm hoping that with the espionage, you can use successful spying attempts to steal enough points to where you can get back. How to win. Excuse me. A player wins by process of elimination. When everyone else loses, the remaining player wins. 2 things can cause, well, this is one way to win. 2 things can cause a player to lose. 1, if you, the ruler, your spouse, and all possible heirs are killed at the same time, your race is considered to be insignificant and you lose. Thus, the greatest lineage. If that lineage fails, you're done. 2, if all the territory you own gets conquered, you lose. Only royal family members have a gender. I don't even know why that's there in the rules, but it is important. And then this is the other way you win. If more than 1 player is left at the end of the game, whoever has the most points wins. Note, points in this instance are victory points, not point by points. So they're drawn from culture minus ruler culture points, and I'll explain that later in the game. Technology points, military technology points, population, territories, prestige, and resources. Not all of this is equal either, so like prestige is worth more than probably territories, I guess. I haven't looked at the chart in a while, and I could look at the chart, but I don't feel like it. I feel like getting this game underway. So, a little bit more, and then I'll go ahead and dive in. Before each game, you must pick your territories. Elves fix first. Elves pick first, followed by humans, followed by monsters, and ending with dwarves. This is because, and it doesn't say this in the rules, but this is because due to the racial bonuses for combat, elves have the most advantage of any other race. And since going first is a disadvantage, that balances things out. And dwarves have the least advantages of any other race, which means going last is a help to them and balances things out. And then I tried to do it sort of logically the other way with the other players. You may choose to place your territories in any of the 4 peninsulas. So that's, you see this shaded area here? That's where the peninsula is cut off. So whoever's setting up here can set up from here east. Whoever sets up in this peninsula can set up from here west. Whoever sets up in this peninsula can set up from here north, and then same with from here, from this line here south. If you zoom out, it's a lot easier to see than when you're zoomed in, because see, as you zoom in, it's harder to see, but zoomed out, it's easy to see. And that's one reason I have yet to figure out how to mark this well for people when I'm not playing the game, but I'll figure that out. I'm thinking about it actively every day, or inactively. The same order is used to determine who goes first, so that's first elves, then I believe it's humans, monsters, then dwarves. So in this playtest, I'm doing it as if there were 2 players, because I don't want to play all 4 players. I've done it before, and it's annoying. So I will be going with the elves first, and then the dwarves second. In the beginning of the game, you have 20 population, 1 ruler, 1 spouse, 1 male, and 1 female, rank 2 royal. Oh, I don't think I put that in there. Hold on, let me check something real quick. I'm going to act as game master in this just to make sure. Yep, it ain't in there. One moment. Alright, I think I'm back. I just quickly copied and pasted from a document I had on Google Drive the point values and everything that you start with into green for elves and red for dwarves. Okay, so in the beginning of the game you start with 20 population, 1 ruler, 1 spouse. You get to choose what gender the ruler and spouse is, and that's purely role-playing reasons. Really no bonuses either way. 1 male and 1 female rank 2 royal family members. And I'll explain that later when it becomes relevant. Much later when it becomes relevant. 2 territories. One of them will be a village, one of them will be a territory, but they both count as territories. 15 food tokens and 18 wood tokens. Before your first turn, you must decide whether your ruler is male or female. Like I said, it doesn't really matter. You also start with 13 prestige rating. This prestige includes that which you receive from your tribe. Tribe? I think it means village. Every turn, several things happen that will turns in what they do for you. Every turn, several things happen that will to progress the game and further your cause. Remember, a turn does not represent a clear set amount of time, but it does represent time. In the beginning of the game, you will roll to see who goes first. Actually, no, you don't. That needs to be changed. After that, the order is clockwise around the board. Again, that needs to be changed in the rules. It's a good thing I'm doing this. I've got inconsistencies from when I used to be like that. Now, when it said turns represent time, the only reason that really matters anymore is in a normal game, every 4 turns, your ruler will pass away of old age. And your heir of the same gender as your ruler will become the new ruler. Now, if you don't have any heirs of the same gender, that's bad, because normally if you have this, if the same gender takes over, you carry on all the benefits from your old ruler to your new ruler, because rulers can grant bonuses like military bonuses and culture points and all sorts of things, a lot cheaper than you could get otherwise. Excuse me. I think my body is yelling at me because it's so late. So when a ruler of a different gender comes into play, you're penalized by having to start over with the ruler bonuses. You start with a certain amount of ruler bonuses, but you'll have to start back at that baseline. You don't get the bonuses that your previous ruler had, which, if you put enough into ruler culture points, could send you back ages. So that's not good. So the order of the turn phases. First phase is prestige check. That only matters if you're in a war, so we're not going to deal with that today. 2, gain points. That's the first thing I'm going to be doing, but for this turn, the points are already calculated. It's the same you start with the same amount in every game, so I already got that. That's this 24 right here. Market fluctuation is 3. That I will explain, because I'm about to do that for the elves. Oh wait, no, I have to pick a... You know what, I think that's all I'm going to explain on the rules. I think I'm just going to go ahead and start playing. So, the elves pick their area first. They get 1 regular... I'm going to lock these down again. They get 1 regular territory and 1, I believe that's, yep, if I zoom in enough, this is a village, this is a territory. They're both considered territories, but villages can house monuments, which is why they have to be protected. It's the only problem with getting a village captured, is you lose monuments. Plus, actually, no, because the less villages you have, the less population your empire can support. And I'm going to be reasonably cautious, but not too terribly cautious. I'm going to put my village here and my territory here. All territories must touch each other. And the reason I put it in this forested area with the river, this valley, is because elves get a bonus when they're in low-lying areas in military use. So, good. Okay. Dwarves get a bonus in mountains. So let's go put their people in. I generally like to start dwarves up here in the northern mountains, over by the ocean. For some reason, historically, when I played this game, no matter who gets what, and no matter who's playing, the dwarves tend to lose. I've never played a game all the way through, but the dwarves tend to be in the losing, in the side that is losing. So I'm gonna be cautious with them and put them relatively far back as far as their mountains go. They can go all the way up to here, but they're not going to. And then we are going to start out as high rollers with these elves. So now I'm actually in the gameplay itself. This is market fluctuation. You see here there's 3 sets of dice. The D6s, D12s, and D20s. Can you tell I'm a dice fanatic? I always say D6, D12, D20 instead of 6-sided die, whatever. But I lost my train of thought. Okay, so market fluctuation. You roll 1 green and 1 red type, 1 green die and 1 red die of the same type. The green represents a positive percentage of points gained, and the red represents a negative percentage of points gained, or a positive loss. So let's say I rolled this on my, right here. Let's say I rolled this. Yeah, okay, good. I got an 18 on green and an 8 on red. That's a positive 18 plus a negative 8. So I end up with 10% gained. So I would multiply 24 by 0.1, or by 1/10, and then add that to the points that I get to spend later in the turn. But that's not what happened yet, because I never rolled. So let's take them over there and roll. The reason I'm starting out with D20s is because it'll make very little difference early on in the game. And actually, that's a good point. D6s will make very little difference early on in the game. So, no, yeah, this is a 1-player game. I forgot. I'm not going to play it any differently on the 2 different sides. If you think that you've got a better strategy than your opponent, if you're really sure, I would suggest starting with D6s, because once you get that point advantage, then you can afford to lose points. Because it's really hard to lose enough points to where they'll get in front of you. But like I was saying before, D6s are going to give you very little difference early on in the game. Whereas later in the game, D20s can really hurt you, and D6s can sort of hurt you. So it's good for damage control to start out with D20s and go to D6s later in the game, unless you're confident in your strategy. And I got 2 8s, so that cancels out. That's 0% change, and market fluctuation is done. Now I get to do the same sort of thing, only with my population, and that is optional. Market fluctuation you have to roll. Population you don't. Since I was relatively lucky with this, I am not going to roll with... Yeah, I will. I'm going to roll d6s, though. Because I'm going to bank on my opponent having worse luck than I had. Oh, that's not good. I just lost 4% of my population. Now, my population was 20, because you only count normal population. With my handy-dandy calculator, I lose 1 population. Because it comes out to a 0.8 difference, and you always round to the nearest whole number. So I lose 1 population. That's not good. That means I can only collect, 9 resources this turn instead of 10. So stockpile resources / trade. Trading is going to come very important later. Well, maybe not in this game. But stockpile resources, that's a big thing. You want to get a lot of resources. And I'll talk about my strategy as I get to that point. But you can only gather resources with up to half rounded down of your population. So half of my population rounded down is 9. So I can gain 1 resource with each of those because I have 0 technology points. So I will gain 6 food and 3 wood. And then, and as you can see, this game is heavy in math, but I'm hoping to program it into something later so that the math is done for you, and it'll go quicker too. So it'll be much less of a hassle playing the game. But I think it's a good game anyway. I enjoy it, and I don't particularly care what anybody else says because it's just for my enjoyment at this point. If other people like it, then hey, kudos to them, and I might make it for other people too. Okay, the next turn phase that actually matters in the first turn is spending points at phase 8 of 10. So this is where I'm going to talk about my strategy. So I have 24 points to spend. At this point in the game, I always recommend spending everything in territories, because that's going to give you the most point return and give you more points the next round. Later in the game, it's going to become more advantageous to spend points in population. Earlier than that, massive points in technology, but that's going to all happen at once for me. And then eventually you're going to want to spend points in culture and other things to go up ages, but right now territories are where it's at. So it costs 3 points to get 1 territory. So that means I get 8 territories if I spend it all in territories. Now I do it like that instead of just switching it out, because we have to figure out, we still have to figure out how many of those territories are villages, and then we have to pull out and place the correct number of regular territories and villages, and then I will do the math. So let's see. You get one village at 1 territory, and then one village at 6 territory, another village at 6 territories, and then another one at 11, and so on. So I just get one village at this point, because I'm going up to 10, and that's not quite enough to get a second village. So I gain 3 prestige, 1 shaman. I can go ahead and do the math there. In fact, I can do the math here too. It's not going to matter. And that prestige eventually helps you out in points too, but it does it a lot slower than anything else. And I believe that's it for that. Now, this is a little bit out of place, but I always, when I do this on the computer, I always subtract the food and wood that would be subtracted right now instead of after I place my territories like you're supposed to, just because I don't want to forget. I used to forget a lot, and it really messes with the game. So, and it's hard to fix later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract, let's see, I have to get my brain to start working again. Sorry. This is what happens when I only tape after 12 midnight. So food is what I'm going to lose, because I'm not going to lose any wood, because wood, you only lose wood if you have new population. I didn't gain any population, so I don't lose any wood. Food, you lose 1 food for every 5 population that you have, and it's rounded up. So I lose 4 food. Which means I've gained 2 food in this turn. And net gain. And so I want 7 regular territories, because you got to subtract this 1, and 1 village. And that's where you're seeing why I'm doing this, because I would have never remembered to do the right amount. Hold on, I don't think I counted right. Nope, I did. And 1 village. And we will zoom up. And the village is going to go here, because I want to put it back behind my territories to buffer, to keep my territories as a buffer for the villages. Actually, that was a poor decision. There. Because the dwarves can come in through the mountains and then try to take over my villages here. Ah. Excuse me. I'm going to try to get through this turn, and then I will quit for the night. But that is the elves. Now it's the dwarves' turn, and they are also going to go with the D20s. And possibly the D6s. So, we will see. It may not roll for population at all, depending on what happens. Oh, wow! I don't think this has ever happened. I got a 0% change on both of them. Well, they're already ahead. So they're going to stay ahead. They're ahead not because of the points, but because of their population. So they're going to stay ahead by not rolling for population. So we go to red. And then the next thing they do is collect resources, I think. Yup. So turns are pretty quick once you get the idea of what you're doing. Turns are pretty quick on the first few turns. Actually, for the first age, it's really quick. After that, it slows down a bit. So what was I doing? Oh yeah, resources. I'm getting 10, so I'll get 5 and 5. No, I'll get 6 and 4. And now it is time to spend points. Excuse me. And I'm going to spend all my points in territories as well. Because you gotta keep up. Gotta keep up. I have no idea what that was. That was me trying to stay awake, I guess. I apologize, guys. I normally am a nighttime person, but I have, for the past 4 days, I think, been woken up at 9 a.m., so I had to go to bed early, and now I'm on that track. So, yeah, it's sad. It's sad when you wake up at like 5 o'clock for like 18 years of your life, and then all of a sudden you're waking up at noon or 2, and now you're like, I can't wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning without going to bed early. Pathetic. I know. So I got 1 shaman, 3 prestige, and I'll do all the math later when we're not recording. I lose 5 or 4 food, just like the other person, the elves. The other person that is also me. And that is it, I believe. So I gotta pick out my territories and set them, and then I will be done for the night. I may come back and do another recording if I still can't fall asleep. I did not lock these. But I don't want to make the recording too terribly long. Because the longer the recording, the less viewers I get, I'm sure. The dwarves are feeling pretty good about themselves, so they're going to try to make their way to the elves as soon as possible. But of course, as much as possible, they're going, especially down towards their heartland, they're going to make it in the mountains. And anything that is partially mountain or partially hill is also counts for them. Just like if anything is partially low-lying, it counts for the elves. So technically, this square right here, if this territory was here, would give both the elves and the dwarves their bonus if they were fighting over that square. And I believe that is it. So on behalf of Lords of Gallipay Games, thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this enjoyable and informative. That's the word. I will be posting more videos like this as long as the lag wasn't too terrible and my voice actually came through on the recording. If not, I'm going to give up. Because this is the 4th time I've done this. Not with this particular map, or with Tabletop Simulator, but this is the 4th time I've done this. So, anyway, good night.